Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. And in today's video, I'll be talking about Saturn in the sign of Cancer. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So before we start, just a few quick disclaimers. First, you always want to check to see, are there any planets conjunct with Saturn in your chart? Is Saturn receiving any aspects in the chart? This will make a huge difference in the interpretation. You also want to check to see what is the house that Saturn is placed in and what houses does Saturn rule. So you want to check to see where is Capricorn and where is Aquarius in the house. Saturn will always influence those areas where Capricorn and Aquarius are placed in your natal chart. The other thing that's important to understand is that Saturn will activate most strongly in your chart at certain periods of your life. So the most significant period where Saturn will become active in your chart is during a Saturn Dasha period. So especially during a Saturn Mahadasha, but even during a Bhukti period of Saturn, you can see some results coming through from your Saturn position. Also, when there are transits to your natal Saturn, this can also activate it as well. So you want to see, are there any planets actually transiting over your natal Saturn from your birth chart? Along with this, the Sadi period is a very significant period that can affect you in your life as well. So you want to see, is Saturn in the 12th, first, or second house from your natal moon position? This becomes extremely important in your life. The most significant moment where Saturn really starts to give you some results in your life is when Saturn matures at the age of 36 and when Saturn returns back to its original location around the age of 29, 30 years of age. So, around the time of 29 or 30 years of age is when you will see the lessons of Saturn come to you most strongly. You will start to understand some of the lessons and challenges that Saturn wants you to work through. When Saturn matures from 36 and onwards, this is where things start to get a little bit easier. So I would say 36 to 45 and onward into your older age is where Saturn will slowly start to release some of the karma in your chart. So you learn how to manage this area of Saturn much better as you get older with this. And this is definitely one of the signifactors of Saturn is maturity. In other disclaimers, you want to check to see, are there any additional karmas that are attached to Saturn in your chart? This becomes very important to see. So the first thing you want to check is Saturn retrograde, because that definitely means that there will be some heavy karmas that are associated with Saturn. And this can show karmas related to servants, to elderly people, to those working under you if you are in an authoritative position, anyone who is giving you a service like a plumber, anyone at all who is providing you with some kind of service in your life, you can have a karma related to that person. And that can be something that is negative or positive. You may be paying off your karma to these people, or you may be experiencing some karmic obstacles in your life. And of course, other karmas related to the retrograde can come through the house position that Saturn has rulership over. So all of these things are important to see in the chart. Another factor is combustion. Is Saturn getting burnt up by the sun? Well, then that means that there are karmas that are getting burnt out in your chart. Along with this, you want to see, what is Saturn representing as the Jaimini Karaka in your chart as well. You also want to see, is Saturn in a Pap Kartari Yoga? Is it in the first house, for example, being surrounded by other malefics? This can have an impact on how Saturn plays out in your chart. The other factor is you can look at the aspects of Saturn, which I talked about in an entire video on my YouTube channel, a whole video series on the different positions of Saturn in the chart. So if you have not seen Saturn through the 12 houses, make sure to check out that playlist to see what Saturn is doing in the house position for you. And of course, if you want to understand more about the Sadi Sadi, I've also put up a video on that as well. So I will leave links above and down below in the description. But the aspects of Saturn become extremely important. And the third aspect is always going to be the most challenging aspect of Saturn. That is where we have to apply the most effort in our lives, as you want to see what is third from Saturn's position in your chart. The seventh aspect, each planet or graha in Vedic astrology has a seventh aspect from itself, which is always going to be a desire. So whatever is sitting opposite to Saturn is what Saturn is desiring in your chart. Along with this, the last and final aspect of Saturn is the 10th aspect, and that is the karmic aspect. That is where you will apply the action and where you will see the strongest results come through. Another technique to look at Saturn in your chart is to see where Saturn has gone from its ruler's position. So if you look at the first house as Aquarius, especially as that is the Mutrikon sign, you want to see how far has Saturn gone away from Aquarius. That will tell you a lot. The house position from Aquarius will show how Saturn will behave in your chart. You can also look at this from Capricorn as well. That is the secondary home of Saturn, but the most important home really is Aquarius. Another factor is how to really look at Saturn in your chart. So many of you are probably familiar with where Saturn is in your D1 natal chart, but also it's important to see Saturn in the D9 Navamsa, especially because we want to see how do the karmas start to ripen in that D9 chart. That's going to tell us a lot about the maturity of the planet. So especially if you have Saturn in a difficult position in your D1 Rashi chart, your natal chart, but then it is stronger in the D9 Navamsa chart, then this is an excellent sign that those karmas are going to get better with time. If Saturn loses his strength and is already strong in the D1, then this is meaning that those challenges, those karmas from past life experience are sticking with you. So that means that you definitely need to take some remedial measures to bring Saturn out of that difficult position. And of course, if Saturn stays the same, then the results of it will be very strong as well. You also want to see where has Saturn gone in the D10 because Saturn has a lot to do with our career. It has a lot to do with the work that we perform in life. Saturn is all about hard work, sacrifice, responsibility. So actually, Saturn can tell us a little bit about our career along with some other factors in the chart. And so looking at the D10, which is a whole chart that shows us different aspects of our career life, can definitely give a good indication of what Saturn is about in your chart as well. Along with this, you should see Saturn in the D33 and in the D60 chart. The D60 chart especially can show you about the past life implications of Saturn because D60 really shows our karmas all together, what we are bringing with us from our previous incarnation. So if you really want to see what are the karmas that are associated, what really happened in that past life experience, make sure to check out that D60 chart as well. Now, let's talk about some remedial measures that are associated with Saturn. And a great remedial measure, which is often used for Saturn, is to feed the crows because Saturn is associated with crows. We always see crows at cemeteries, and Saturn is the planet of death. So, that is definitely a good remedy that can help with removing some of the obstacles that are presented by Saturn in your chart. Another thing is, again, Saturn is a planet of sacrifice, of service, of hard work, responsibility. So when you take responsibility in your life, this is definitely going to help with Saturn as well. And that includes taking responsibility for others, making sacrifices, making commitments, being of service, helping those in need is definitely going to help to lift Saturn out of that difficult situation. So service especially is very helpful. Saturn represents everything that is old, everything that takes time, because Saturn is seen as the old man who limps. So if you are helping the elderly, especially, if you are helping those who are debilitated, those who are struggling in life, then this can definitely help your Saturn position. Saturn also represents poverty. It represents the lower class. It represents the people because Saturn is the direct enemy of the sun, and sun is the king. Sun represents the government. It represents those in positions of power and authority. So Saturn directly opposes that. Saturn is all about fighting for the people, about serving the people, the masses of people. So definitely this can also show if you are helping people in general in their lives, those who are suffering, those who are in poverty, those who are underprivileged, then this can definitely help with Saturn's position. Another aspect of this is as Saturn is again the enemy of the sun, it is not about ego because sun is all about ego. Sun is all about our confidence, our self-esteem, our sense of self. But Saturn is about doing things in a way where you don't necessarily get recognized for it. And so, what this means is that you should always remain humble and ethical in your actions, and Saturn will reward you for this. So, when you get too much into your ego with Saturn, this is definitely going to cause some problems for you. Another aspect of Saturn is because it is about death, surrendering things, letting go of things that no longer serve you in your life. Instead of holding on, letting go, bringing things to an end that have to go is very important. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what it looks like to have Saturn in the sign of Cancer. And before we do this, we first have to break down what is Saturn and what is Cancer, and then see how these energies work together. So, Saturn, as I've been saying, is a planet of sacrifice, a planet of hard work, of service, of discipline, of taking on responsibility, helping those in need. It is about the people. It is about fighting for the rights of the people. It is about helping those who are in difficult situations in life. Saturn is a planet of being humble, of putting down the ego. It is a planet of restriction, of limitation, of old age, of death. It is a planet that is associated with fear, with anxieties, with the things that limit us, the things that hold us back, our blocks. Oftentimes, when we are younger, before that age of maturity, around 36 up to 45, we tend to have the most obstacles in life. So, in our 20s and so on, we tend to experience some kind of fear or blockage around Saturn. And so that area where we feel like there's a block, where we feel like we can't move forward, where we feel like things are moving too slowly, that is often associated with the position where Saturn is in your natal chart. Saturn teaches us about discipline. It teaches us to be structured. It teaches us the reality of life. It shows us that things take time to build. It shows us that we need persistence. If you are someone who easily gives up when you don't see quick results, then you're going to struggle with Saturn. Saturn is all about patience. It is all about continuing to work hard towards your goals, building that solid foundation, that structure in your life. Many people don't talk about this, but Saturn also can be a very spiritual planet as well. Saturn is often seen as being in meditation in an isolated place. So Saturn is a bit of a loner as well, a very introverted type of planet. Saturn, though, is also very pessimistic because it is about reality. It wants to see the reality of things. So it is not overly optimistic. And so it actually takes spirituality and makes it something that is realistic, that is practical, that is grounded, which makes it one of the best planets for spirituality and mysticism. Because instead of making it this hopeful, dreamy thing, it takes it and actually uses it in a practical sense. So, what does Cancer represent? Cancer is the original fourth house of anyone's natal chart. So, it is the original fourth house of the cosmic man. And Cancer is also associated with the mother. It has to do with nurturing, with caring, with the nourishment that we receive, the nourishment we give to others. Cancer is a very emotional sign. It is a movable water sign. So it is very adaptable as it is movable. It's creating change, it's creating movement in life, but it is also emotional, sensitive, intuitive, receptive with this water element coming in. So it is all about caring for people. It is all about nurturing. And of course, the moon is the ruler of Cancer, which is all about our mind, our desires, our feelings. It is all about how we relate to the world, to the public, the masses, how we react and respond, what we need to feel secure, comfortable, nurtured, to have our desires fulfilled is the moon. So, Cancer is all about that feeling of comfort and security, that feeling that we have our emotions and needs met. And so, the first person to do that oftentimes is a motherly figure. And this is why Cancer is associated with the mother, with the home, with the homeland. It's a very patriotic sign of Cancer as well. So, what happens then when Saturn comes into the sign of Cancer? Well, Saturn's going to bring in some obstacles related to the things of Cancer. So, oftentimes, what I've seen is that there's a lot of fear and insecurity that is associated with Saturn and Cancer. There is a feeling of abandonment sometimes with this position, a feeling of not really getting your needs met, not really finding that sense of nourishment and security. So even if you have this, even if you have a motherly figure or a family who's giving you the security, who's giving you the love, the comfort, everything that you need, there's still an internal feeling that you are not getting what you need out of life. There is some kind of disconnect with your emotions where you feel this inner feeling of insecurity. Saturn and Cancer can definitely mean that you shut off your emotions sometimes, that you actually suppress your feelings or you have difficulty with expressing how you feel. There is some kind of a block that is centered around that emotional space within you. Saturn and Cancer also could make you very paranoid about land, about property. You feel like you need a home. You feel like you need to put roots somewhere. You need something to give you that feeling of security in life. So there is this fear, this paranoia around getting your needs met, around having security, around your emotions and comfort in life. Sometimes there are experiences where you were abandoned from an early age, where you struggle in your relationship with your family, where there were people who you connected to emotionally who betrayed you. And now there is this feeling of drawing back from emotions and connection due to these experiences. And these also can be experiences that are coming from past life as well, where there were struggles related to the mother, to the home, to emotions coming from a past life scenario. So, this is in the back of your mind where you feel this discomfort, this feeling of not really getting those needs met. Sometimes with this position, you could also have some difficulty with being family oriented, with actually showing care and nourishment to others. At the same time, though, because Saturn is all about karma and responsibility, you actually have a purpose that is centered around family, that is centered around caring for people. And even if it is not about family, it's about caring for people in some way. So, this position of Saturn and Cancer could actually make you a great counselor, a great caretaker, a great politician, where you are trying to take care of your country. There's something here where this is giving you a responsibility to care for others, to show nourishment to those in need. This becomes extremely important. And when you do get a family, for those of you who are seeking a family later in life, this can make you very protective of your home, very protective of your family. You become someone who others can rely upon. And the more that you are giving of yourself, the more that you are showing nourishment and care to others, you will receive love and appreciation for this. Although you may experience some challenges as well in terms of caring for others, also. This position could also get you involved with working in the service, police force, security, anything where you are helping others but also are able to deal with some difficult situations as well. Because again, there's this tendency to close off emotions or to have difficulty with expressing it. So you can have a love of caring for people, but in a way that also requires being tough as well. Sometimes with this position, you could also have a love of animals. So if you find yourself closing off your emotions to other people, there can also be a feeling of wanting to show this emotion and care to animals as well. Sometimes you want to help other people who may have been in the same situation as you were. So if you were abandoned as a child, you may want to help orphans, to help those in need, to help those who don't have the right resources. This can also be seen with Saturn and Cancer. So let's go ahead and talk about the three nakshatras that fall under the sign of Cancer, starting with Punarvasu. And we talked a lot about this nakshatra in the last video because most of it falls in the sign of Gemini. But there's that last little bit that falls in the sign of Cancer at the very beginning. So for those of you who have Saturn from 0 degrees till 3 degrees, 20 minutes of Cancer, this is going to fall in the Punarvasu nakshatra. So Punarvasu means the return of the light or visible infinity. So it is referring to things that return back. The symbol is of a arrow that returns back to the sender after being fired. So this quiver of arrows that is magical, that is constantly returning in this infinite way. So it is all about things that return. And so what that means is that whatever you do in life is going to come back to you. Those karmas that you perform are going to come back very strongly to you with this position. So definitely with Saturn and Punarvasu, you want to make sure that you are putting out good intentions into the world, because you can struggle if you are trying to put out negative intentions out into the world as well. Now, we talked about how in the Gemini side of this, there is a little bit of an innocence that is there. And innocence, of course, gives the room to make mistakes, to be a little devious at times, and that can lead to repeating the same mistakes over and over again and having to correct them. In the sign of Cancer, it is a little bit different because Cancer is about nurturing people. It is about caring for others. So with Saturn and Punarvasu, what it definitely shows is that there is a tendency to want to help others, to want to care for others. So this can show some kind of element of being in government or being in public service, wanting to do good in the world, wanting to really make a difference. And with this position, the more that you are willing to help others, the more that you're willing to remain humble and to make these sacrifices through Saturn, the more that you will see your success and fame start to rise in life. Because again, whatever you put out will come back to you with this placement. Now, sometimes if you put out the wrong energy, if you make the wrong moves with Saturn and Punarvasu, it can create obstacles in certain areas of your life. So you want to see what places in your chart are ruled by Saturn. If you're doing the wrong thing with Saturn and Punarvasu, you will see repeating themes in those areas. You will see that there is reoccurring cycles of things falling apart and then restarting again if you are making the wrong decisions. So let's move on to Saturn and Pushya Nakshatra. Pushya is all about nourishment. It is all about caring for others. Pushya also is referred to as Siddhya, which means that it is about fortune, it's about prosperity. So there's also a luck factor that is seen in the Pushya Nakshatra as well. And we know that the ruling deity is actually Brihaspati, which is the Lord of Sacred Speech, another form of Jupiter guru. So there's definitely a luck factor to this nakshatra for sure. Now, Pushya also is referred to as Tishya, the celestial archer. So there's also this element of an arrow. There's also this element of protection, of aiming for something, of going towards a goal in life that is seen here. But for the most part, the symbol is a cow's udder, which is about nourishment. It's about security. It's about comfort. It's about caring for others. It's related to food, to nourishment, to the things that sustain us in life. Pushya also, as it is ruled over by the god of sacred speech, it is also associated with gaining spiritual knowledge and spiritual abilities and insights. So it is also a very spiritual position as well. So when Saturn comes into this nakshatra, what this shows is that the more good that you do, the more sacrifices that you do in life, the more that you are of service, helping those in need, the more that your prosperity will start to increase in life. And especially if you look at those indicators of Saturn, the underprivileged, the elderly people, if you are trying to help those in need in this way, then you will definitely see that there is a rise in your happiness and success. This can also give some good peace of mind as well. This is another thing that's associated with Cancer is the moon rules over Cancer, which represents the mind. So it gives peace of mind, but especially here in Pushya, as this is the middle part of Cancer, this can definitely help to bring some peace, some happiness, some prosperity into your life. So this can be a very lucky position to have as well, especially if you are doing the right thing in life, if you are going out of your way to help others in need, then this will definitely bring some great fortune in return. Because this is ruled over by the sacred god of speech, there also can be a theme of gurus coming into your life as well. And so just make sure that you're being respectful of any kind of gurus, teachers, mentors, anyone who's giving you wisdom and knowledge in your life, anyone who's giving you this higher knowledge, this guidance in your life. Make sure to be respectful of them. That is also a karma that's associated with Saturn and Pushya. Now let's talk about Saturn and Ashlesha. Ashlesha is a nakshatra that is at the end of Cancer, and it is a Mercury nakshatra, which means that there is a little bit of deviousness sometimes that is associated with this also. Remember that Mercury is a child. It's very playful. It is very curious, and it can get into trouble at times. So this definitely means that you want to use this position in the correct way. Ashlesha is referring to an embrace or to cling to something. So it is all about intimacy. It is all about attachment. It is all about this deep connection. But the symbol is also a serpent, and serpent is representing poison. It is said that Ashlesha has the power to inflict poison on the enemy. So this is also associated with medicine because medicine can be both a poison and an antidote. So this definitely can show that you could work in a healing profession with Saturn and Ashlesha. Another thing is that this is ruled over by the Nagas, which were the serpent beings who lived underground in the underworld. So this is also associated with hidden knowledge, with mystical powers. And so this also can give a fascination with the occult, with magic and mysticism. This could get you into tarot, astrology, into numerology, into all sorts of paranormal activity, psychic abilities, mysticism can be seen through Ashlesha. Ashlesha is also very intelligent because, again, it is ruled over by Mercury, and we have the moon as well as this is falling in Cancer. So there is a cleverness here. Both Moon and Mercury are the fastest. So this is giving this cleverness, this wittiness, this ability to be quick on your feet. Quick reactions and responses can be seen here as well. Now, because this is associated with all of these mystical abilities, when Saturn comes here, you definitely want to make sure that you're using this all for the right reasons. Saturn and Ashlesha can make you a great healer, a great counselor, a great mystical guide for others, someone who's able to take all of this knowledge and understanding and to use it to help those in need. And again, because this represents medicine, this could get you into the pharmaceutical field, into the medical field, into research fields, into anything at all that is about healing and helping others. So this is incredible for those of you who are interested in healing, who are interested in medicine, who are interested in all of the mystical side of life and using your knowledge, using your abilities to guide other people out of a dark place in their life. So you can take some of that emotional suffering that you have and use it to help others in need. But again, very important that you're using all of these abilities for the right reason, because just like this snake has the ability to give poison that could either kill or that could help. This shows that there is this duality that is here in Ashlesha, where it could be used for something that is to harm others or to help others. So, very important, especially because Saturn is a karmic planet. Whatever you put out will come right back to you with this position. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you like this, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend if you think it would be helpful. If you're interested in a consultation with me, make sure to check out my website. I have all my services listed on the site. If you are just interested in understanding the placements in your chart, if you're not familiar with Vedic astrology, or if you want to have a color-coded birth chart, then make sure to check out my site as well. I have a free birth chart report, which is just a simple breakdown of the different positions in your chart, along with a color-coded chart to your ascendant as well. If you want to learn more about astrology, I also have a blog on my site where I have over 40 blog posts that you could check out over there as well. And again, I will leave links above and down below for Sadi, for Saturn through all 12 houses. So make sure to check out those videos as well so that you get a full understanding of what Saturn is doing in your chart. I will see you all in the next video. I hope you have a great day.